Riley is the one-man show behind the Scump watch party. And did you think that this is where it was all going to lead to whenever you first started working in esports?
Definitely not. When I first started working was very, very different from what I even started doing here.
Right.
And that was even before the watch party. So, and obviously, like when I started here, the watch party wasn't even a thing. Like Seth was still competing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this
But it wasn't that
a
long, right?
journey.
Like you came on and then Seth retired like a
few
later?
months later,
Few
yeah.
months?
So like I came on in 2023 and yeah, so like I got here in like that August, September window, right before the season started. He played the first few months of that season and then retired, and then the watch party, kind of kicked off from there. So yeah.
The story that I heard, and I don't know if it's real or not, I want your perspective, is Seth retired and then it was Raj and Matt scrambling and Corey Dunn scrambling to figure out what the hell a watch party would even be. And then they were like, we need someone to produce this. And you were like, I like COD. And then it's been that ever since.
More or less, yeah. I remember the announcement because like it was funny because the only time I've ever contributed to process while working here was the Rocker SAE match in MW2 on a silo. Okay. So I was filming that day when like the forfeit and all that went down. And I got to hear like the behind the scenes of sort of like how frustrated Seth was like at the time, even just with the state of the game and things like that. But I had no idea like he was even thinking about retiring. So then a few weeks later when he actually retired, I started hearing Raj and Matt sort of cooking up the idea of like doing a co-stream for Seth because he wanted to continue to be involved in the scene and whatnot. So they kind of took the lead and set all that up. And then I happened to kind of come in more or less how you described it, but it ended up being like hey, we can't run this like on this day. Would you mind filling in?
Right.
So I filled in to run the watch party. I think even JP, believe it or not, got tagged in to like run the show one day for a few hours because they were still trying to figure out how it was all going to work.
Right.
And so in doing that, I just happened to already be sort of like the COD stats nerd that knew where to find all that stuff. And so Seth, I think, really enjoyed that. He would be like, oh, I wonder what like their records are. I was like, oh, I know exactly where to find that.
Right.
And so I just kind of fell in love with it. I think he enjoyed it. And so it just kind of ended up being like the right place at the right time, something that I was already super passionate about and ended up being a good fit. So I think they were like, hey, you love this.
Right.
We need somebody to take this over. Would you be interested in it? And I just jumped at the chance.
What were you doing right before, or what were you doing? How'd you get into esports?
So
like working it.
Yeah, my esports journey was pretty unconventional, I think, by most standards, because I know a lot of guys who currently work here, who have worked here in the past, kind of always wanted to work in esports or like started off very early on back in the days when there was no money in it and it was just pure passion, just in love with the whole scene and going to events and whatnot. I moved to Texas and worked a lot of different jobs before I ever thought about getting into esports, in marketing and advertising, production, documentary filmmaking, all kinds of things. But I always had competitive COD as like something I enjoyed watching and keeping up with, but never really thought about it much more than that in terms of ever having an idea of working in it. So fast forward through like years of just working regular jobs in Dallas, I was working at the church that I attend at the time as their sort of like head of all things video. So live broadcast, studio production, everything. And just knew like that season was coming to a close. I wanted to do something else. And so I started looking for job opportunities. I left that job without knowing exactly what I was going to get into. But within 2 weeks of leaving that job, I saw a job posting on one of the job boards like LinkedIn or Indeed somewhere that just said that the Los Angeles Guerrillas were looking for a video producer, Call of Duty based in Dallas, Texas, that they were hiring quick. And so I was like, okay, well, I need a job. So, and I love COD. So like, I might as well see what this is. And they basically brought me on board like super quick because they were trying to get somebody right before the COD season started to build out an infrastructure in Dallas. The COD team was going to be living here and playing out of Texas. So they needed to get things going quick. So in a matter of like from application to starting was I think like a week and a half.
Oh, wow.
So I just jumped right in, got involved with the team and took over really kind of rebuilding and helping to rebuild their YouTube space. Like they had a content team in LA that had already sort of had the wheels in motion.
Okay.
They brought me on to be like the boots on the ground in Dallas, the one-man army to film all the YouTube content, to do their documentary series that we called Warpath, and to just be the person they were like, hey, like we have all these ideas and we want to work with you on these ideas. And we bought all the equipment and built out a production facility type space. And
where was that?
It was in the Victor, so like right across from where the old offices were.
Oh, okay. So downtown.
Yeah. So we were literally right across from AAC, from the old OpTic office. In like a big apartment.
Yeah.
In the Victor. And so like I had one of the bedrooms was like, we had a seamless and all of my camera gear and my little editing space.
Oh, wow.
And the main room was like where they would play in scrim. And then the coaches had one of the other rooms. And so it's kind of like living with, you know, a COD team.
Yeah.
Because I was with them 7 days a week, traveling all the time. Wow. So that's how I got started.
Was there a lot of pressure? Like you're going from like a church gig where like, you know, you're running video and stuff, like live production, I'm assuming?
Yeah, a lot of that.
And then now you're basically like the one-man show of a Call of Duty team in a space you never worked at before. Was there pressure?
There was some, but I think given my experience, like I'd done documentary as like sort of a one-man army at that point, and then a lot of the other jobs that I held was very similar to working here or even at LAG, where like you're the producer, you work with the talent, you own it from beginning to end, and you have to sort of know everything because you're going to light it, you're going to record the audio, you're going to shoot it, and then you're most likely going to edit it. So I sort of already had that cut out. It was just sort of like really trying to learn COD. That was the more intimidating thing, because I went from somebody who was like playing a lot of Warzone, Fortnite, dabbled in ranked in AW, but never really played a ton of ranked or like got super deep into the COD community, like the COD competitive, like iceberg, whatever it is they call it. Like I was probably at the very tippy top of that without a lot of knowledge. And so that was the hardest thing. Was like the production thing came really easy because I was like, I know how to do this. Let's knock it out. Let's crush it. But it was trying to learn the lingo and how to read a mini map and tell what's going on in the game at a high level to be able to like do the storytelling side of the docuseries that proved to be like the most difficult part of that gig.
Was the docuseries?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
and learning
tough.
COD to like know what's going on moment to moment, because like I said, I'd never really watched it that closely or at that high of a level.
Yeah.
So I went from like not really knowing anything about Vanguard to like reading spawns and calling out rotations and things within like 3 months.
That's whenever I was filming for Vision, that always was the case with Gears of War. To this day, I don't understand Gears at all, but I documented it for like 5 tournaments. Right. So like the edits, you'll see, I'm just praying that I'm getting there. I could be putting the most random clip in there that like some people are like, why is that? Why did that make it?
That doesn't match at all.
Yeah, I hope I did all right. But yeah, the Gears is, I mean, it's tough whenever you're trying to learn a game and document it at the same time. Even though you kind of, I mean, COD is kind of all the same. But Vanguard's a tough one to come into.
Yeah, it was pretty mixy. So like I credit to this day, like I mean in the pro scene, like everybody has their COD father. Like so for me, like I got the benefit of like I would say mine is like this slasher. Like he sort of like was teaching me things and walking me through stuff and telling me how the game worked. Him and Gunless and Hook, ASIM, that early LAG squad, and then the coaching staff over there, Ricky and Bevels were great. Like I would just go into their room before scrim started. I'm like, hey, like they're talking about this situation. Can you sort of explain to me what's happening so I know where to go find it in the VOD? And so then they would give me that, and they opened the door for like a lot of the behind the scenes stats tools that I still use today. Like, hey, go look at this and figure this stuff out.